has made it clear that they want to do NHS reform. So from a community pharmacy perspective, it's really, really important that we play a part in that. So far, they've still to give us what the funding would be to support that. But where they're making good noises, in my interpretation, is that we want to be involved in prevention, certainly of ill health, and become a true health service. And community pharmacy is ideally placed for that. That's certainly one thing for us. The other would be that they mentioned a specific prescribing service for community pharmacy. And that's something Numark's really keen to explore and support, because I think that's the future for community pharmacy. So prevention is really about making sure with public health interventions we keep people well. So there's already in England a hypertension or a high blood pressure detection service. So that's something that you could see expanded to all 4 countries. So for me, I think there's many things in terms of prevention, in terms of weight management has really taken off in the private sector at the minute, and I include community pharmacy in that. But it's another example of if we can manage one condition, it will prevent musculoskeletal, cardiovascular conditions later in life, which again will reduce the burden on the NHS. The autumn budget did increase the national living wage or minimum wage. It imposed a further increase in national insurance contributions for employers. So that automatically puts a burden on staff costs to the community pharmacy network. With the network being in a position where it really can't increase its prices to the provider, it puts a direct cost straight on. So we are actively waiting on an announcement certainly from Westminster for our English Numark members about the funding that's going to go in for 24-25 and 25-26. So that's imminent, well, it has to be imminent. We're almost at the year end already, and it's critical now that that funding comes through. Now I hope the government is going to come to us and give us a settlement that puts us onto a real stable platform and beginning to look ahead. Our colleague members in Scotland and in Wales have had settlements already. Northern Ireland had a slight uplift, but not to the same extent as Scotland and Wales. So really we're looking for that at least to be replicated in England. I always look for a funding envelope that helps pharmacy owners be confident to invest in their business and really stay engaged. And when you've got that, then for me, the whole network rises its standards. The appearance of our pharmacies look clinical. They're inviting spaces to provide care from. So therefore, if the government supports with funding, it comes on the other side when you've got confidence to still stay invested. So Pharmacy First in England, I think, is a great first step. Strategically, it places the community pharmacy as the heart of service provision, as the first port of call in the NHS. So if you take that strategically, I think that's great. If I had one thing that's different from Scotland in England is that we still rely a bit on our GP colleagues to give access and to refer people into it. Yes, people will come into the pharmacy and can use certain parts. In Scotland, it's completely citizen driven. So in terms of access, the citizen comes in, wants to receive the service, and the pharmacy intervenes. And they can give advice, referral and treatment, and be recognised for all 3 things. And that, I have to say, has worked particularly well in Scotland. And I know my colleagues at Community Pharmacy England are advocating for that approach. In England, we've got 7 clinical conditions that are treated. Then you could expand that many more. And I think that'll be where it comes and where it goes next. Just yesterday, there was an announcement in Scotland for Pharmacy First by the First Minister to expand it further. So it'll be further clinical conditions, so that's another step in the right direction. And it's one that will prepare the network for independent prescribing that we talked about before. A nice, safe first step, as I call it. Get people's confidence up and ability with it, and then we'll be able to extend into that new way of working. At the minute, our larger pharmacy groups are able to provide what we call a centralised assembly process to make that as efficient and as accurate as it can. uses technology and technicians to make sure our accuracy is 100%. For our smaller independent colleagues and Numark members, they don't have that facility, they don't have the scale. But if someone was to set up a hub, an assembly area, you can't do it between different legal entities at the minute. So as they change the legislation to allow that process to be delivered for different legal entities, it gives the smaller pharmacy groups, should they wish to participate in a hub arrangement, then they could have their assembly done in a centralised means, but still retain the right and I'd say the necessity to hand the prescription to the patient. So you keep that person-to-person contact and the care is delivered in the pharmacy, but the technical aspect of assembly could, for some, be done elsewhere. And that's where the legislation change is another potential game changer for the network. But you could also potentially go a stage further than golden tote and have it assembled and bagged centrally. So what comes back to the pharmacy is a prepared prescription, but the care element is then delivered at the pharmacy when face to face with the patient.